What's good, party people? This is your friendly neighbor, Chad the Maverick, back again with another video. And so what I decided to do recently was a planet series. Why? I don't know. But I figured it was time for me to give the information. I speak a lot of things on Twitter and just other things, but I haven't really spit pure astro information. So I just wanted to give my interpretation on Mercury, Venus, and Mars at the very least, because these are planets that are kind of underlooked a lot of the time. Because in my opinion, and from what I've researched and what I've figured over time, is that Mercury is the brain, Venus is the heart, and Mars is actually like the gut and your solar plexus. So with that being said, these things are your three brains. Your three brains are your three hearts. It's your actual brain, your heart, and your gut. And these are the facilities that allow us to move and actually live throughout our days. Our sun and moon are way more spiritual in a sense, but the Mercury, Venus, and Mars is actually a direct influence on our day-to-day life. So I wanted to break these down. But yeah, let's start off with Venus, because Venus won the Twitter poll. If you're not following me on any social media, it's Chad the Maverick. This is your first time watching the video, welcome to it. Please subscribe. I'm really looking to build with you all. Yeah, so let's get it popping. So let's get back into history about Venus. Well, let's go talk about the planet first. So the planet Venus is generally known as the planet of love, it's the planet of beauty, the planet of relationships. Also a planet that represents money as well. Any form of exchange between energies, in a sense, is kind of Venus. If it's a connection between two people that's unspoken, that is naturally ordained, that's just kind of goes the way it does, that's Venus more so. When you get into why, Venus is more of the what it is. Venus is what? It's the heart. It's the love center. So every time someone has Venus within a specific house, their love center is based off of that energetic frequency and influence, and that's how they push it off into the world and interact with other people. So to get into the old history behind it, I'm going to break down two goddesses that pretty much represent, I believe, the two ends of Venus, which would be Aphrodite, who I believe represents more so of the Libran principle of Venus, and Hathor, which is the Egyptian goddess, which I believe represents the Taurian side more. So I'm going to break these down, and then my next videos are going to be based specifically on this. So this is for anyone who's Venus dominant as well. Pay very close attention to the actual information that I present, because a couple of things may kind of throw you off a little bit. Because, so for example, right, Aphrodite, she's known as she who binds the heart together, right? With that being said, Aphrodite is actually a moon goddess. She was a goddess of the moon. And that's something that a lot of people don't know. They just think Venus was just Venus. Nah, Aphrodite was a goddess of the moon. Part of her beauty and her enchantment to others was because of her psychic connection into the ethers and the other realms. She's literally from the moon, and she was foam born. So she came out of the sea. And if you know anything from old knowledge or anything like that, the moon and the sea are directly tied and coordinated. The moon controls the tides. So this is the type of power that Aphrodite, Venus, pretty much had. With that being said, she was a virgin goddess, but virgin at that time didn't mean they didn't have sex. What virgin meant at that time is that they weren't relying on a husband. So she was a virgin goddess in the sense that she was able to be independent, and she didn't necessarily deal with, she eventually got married in actual lore and such, but she was still independent even within that marriage, to be honest. The thing about it is that the love of woman is very important when it comes to Aphrodite. She represents all forms of women and all forms of love towards women. So that goes from even promoting women's rights, even to just the general attraction of women and promoting their beauty and the appreciation of the female body and the divine feminine. those are all things that are representative through Venus, right? This is the Aphrodite side of Venus, if that makes sense. I hope everyone's following. Like, this kind of gets deep, but I'm trying to break it down as simple as possible. The next thing that I want to point out, though, wow, it's ironic. I forgot that she's represented by the swan. I saw a swan yesterday when I took a picture. So this is just my Sagittarian in between, because I have to be kind of awkward every video. So next, she's also the patron of all sex workers. She's the patron of fragrances, rose, golden apples, the pomegranate, the goddess of love, beauty, physical sensuality, passion, generosity, creation, and renewal. So these are all things that Venus represents on the Aphrodite side. So keep all those things in mind, especially everything I said. If you have Libra energy, this is going to be more so what your Venus will give that vibe towards, if that makes sense. Because now we're going to go to the Taurus side of Venus. But here's the thing about Taurus. Taurus is a Venusian planet, but Taurus is the Venusian planet that also works with Earth. Venus works, so Venus works with the Earth when it comes to Taurus energy, which is why it's grounded. So the Libran principle is grounded within Taurus to a point where everyone, even on a regular scale, can see it. Libra, magic and energy and such like that is usually seen better off from people in the higher ends of the zodiac, from Libra and on. But Taurus is the undeniable, like, embodiment of Venus, because everyone can pinpoint what makes them quote unquote beautiful, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So the next thing I'm going to go to, right, is there's the goddess Hathor. And so for Hathor, she essentially was the queen of the West, and she was the queen of heaven, and also a moon goddess, which also brings me back to the fact that the moon, people that have Venusian placements also have an influence from the moon. Like, they have a very undeniable influence from the moon. You ever look at the moon and you're like, wow, the moon is beautiful tonight? That's Venus. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of energy that it associates with. But what I'm going to talk about when it comes to Hathor is that she was the same type of way to Aphrodite. She was self-produced. That's one thing I think I missed, because they said that Aphrodite just came from the foam. So you can't, in my opinion, from what I think, she came down from the moon, and whatever that happened with that, you know how it goes. She came down from the moon, then she turned into the sea foam, and then she birthed herself onto the planet. So even if you want to think of it in terms of that, the moon came down, and then she balanced out her heavenly and her earthly bodies together, was born from foam, and then walked the earth, and then was the most beautiful thing on earth. Libra, Taurus principle. You get where I'm coming from? But yeah, so outside of that, she was also associated with Ra. She was the personification of the power of nature. And this is where Taurus gets their nature and earthly power from. So it's kind of just interesting how these things play out, because she's still married, she's still that. And there's a bunch of other iterations of how Venus is put, but I'm most comfortable with speaking on Greek, Roman, and Egyptian terminologies, and it's the best way to just relate those two people. But yeah, that's pretty much just a quick breakdown of Venus. And so the other thing that I want to say when it comes to Venus is like your golden apple. The golden apple is your heart. So, like, matter of fact, this is Venus. Like, Venus is like this, and this is in you, correct? So depending on what house it's in, kind of depends on the color, right? And then the sign depends on, like, the texture of it. So there's some houses that have a squishier because they're more receptive, maybe. There's some that you can't even squeeze them down, like maybe like a Venus and Capricorn, because it's just that type of energy. But just keep it in mind, because like every house and sign makes it a different color, a different wave, and a different spectrum. So enough about that. This is where I'm going to stop this video for like the Venus beginning, so I can actually break down the actual houses and signs for the next one. Thank you for showing up. This is the first part of the other series, so Look out for yours. Please subscribe if you haven't. Follow me on social medias as Chad the Maverick. I have my readings also available. That'll be down in the description. I have a couple more I need to still do, but I have progress chart readings where I talk about what's happening in your life currently. I have natal chart readings, which is like obviously when you were born and stuff like that. I also have a past life read, destiny read, mission read, all at the same time. It's a little package that I have. And the last thing I have is a live session with me and everything that you need to know about your chart, period. Like, I'm just going to go super hard. All of those actually right now are half off too. So yeah, definitely take a chance to check those out. And I'm going to be breaking down the rest of the Venus signs now. I hope you enjoy when you see this. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, subscribe and then tell me why. Anyway, peace out, y'all. Thank y'all for showing up. Peace.